Legacy Kids. We are so glad that you tuned into service today. Don't forget to like and share this post so your friends can see what's happening. Today we are talking all about God's promises. I am so excited for today's lesson. Let's jump right in.
I know, it's so exciting, but you can't tell anyone because I want it to be a surprise. Promise? Okay, talk to you later. Bye. That was my friend Monica. I was just telling her, well, I can't tell you because it's a secret. But anyway, I know I can trust Monica not to tell anyone because after all, she promised me she wouldn't tell. So, hold on, I'm getting a text. What? That's my friend Brooke that just texted me, and she told me that Monica just texted her all about the secret that she promised me she wouldn't tell. You know, that really hurts. Monica promised me she wouldn't tell, but then she broke her promise. Has something like that ever happened to you? Maybe you're like me, and someone promised not to share a secret of yours, but ended up telling it anyway. Or maybe your parents promised to pick you up from school and take you somewhere special, but then they totally forgot. When someone makes a promise and doesn't keep it, it can really hurt your feelings, huh? Promises are made to be kept, but sometimes people make mistakes and they don't keep their promises. People aren't perfect, and that can be really hard for us to deal with sometimes. But thankfully, there's someone who is perfect. God. He's perfect in every way, and he will never let us down. There's a pretty cool verse in the Bible that says, "Let us hold tightly without wavering to the hope we affirm, for God can be trusted to keep his promise." Hebrews 10:23. Isn't that awesome? God can be trusted. He always keeps his promises. Even when others let you down, God never will. In your lesson today, you're going to learn all about how God keeps his promises. He has made thousands of promises in the Bible, but he's never broken a single one, and he never will. Well, until next time, see ya!
Water, I won't go under, I won't drown. When I'm in over my head, I know that you won't let me down. When I'm broken and down to nothing, I know that you are always up to something good. Something good. Even through to something good. I know that you are always up to something good. You'll make a way, whatever it takes. There's nothing your love won't endure. I know that you are always up to something good. You'll make a way, whatever it takes. There's nothing your love won't endure. I know that you are always up to something good.
What you gotta know? What you gotta know? What you gotta know? What you gotta know?
Hey there, kids. I'm Big Ray, and I'm here to tell you what you gotta know. Today, we're talking about how God keeps His promises. So today, every time you hear somebody ask you what you gotta know, you tell them all of God's promises are true. God has made a lot of promises in His Word. He promised He would never leave you, and that's true. He promised He would provide for you. That's true too. He promised thousands of things in His Word, and every single one of those promises are true. So today, every time you hear somebody ask you what you gotta know, you tell them all of God's promises are true. And that right there is what you gotta know. This is Big Ray, and I'll catch you on the flip side.
What you gotta know?
Yeah. What you gotta know?
Welcome to another Bible story. We're talking about Genesis chapters 17 through 21, the story of Abraham and Sarah. Now, Abraham and Sarah were really, really old, older than most of your grandparents. That's pretty old. Now, Abraham was 99, and Sarah wasn't much younger at 90 years old. But guess what? They wanted to have children. What? You usually can't have children when you're that old. Most moms with little babies are in their 20s, 30s, or maybe 40s. But Abraham and Sarah wanted children in their 90s. Wow, that's crazy. But one day, God came down and spoke to Abraham. He told him this: I will make you the father of many nations. Father? Many nations? Abraham is 99. How is he going to be a father? But he walked away trusting God. Soon there were 3 very important men that came by as Abraham was working in the oak grove. Well, Abraham invited them in and said, "Come, let's get some lunch." So as they were sitting down, one of the men told Abraham this: At this time, next year, your wife will have a son. A son? Abraham thought to himself, God's promise is gonna come true. I know it is. This is confirmation of what God told me, that I would have a child. But Sarah, being really old, overheard and thought to herself, have a child? Me? I'm way too old for that, as she laughed. But guess what happened next? The very next year, at the same exact time, God gave Sarah a baby boy named Isaac. Isaac will go on to have children and grandchildren and be the father to so many nations. God's promise came true. Abraham and Sarah trusted God. So you're going to learn in your lesson today that trusting God means all of His promises will always come true.
Yeah. What you gotta know?
Today we are talking about promises. Have you ever lied before? I know that I've messed up and lied before. I've made some mistakes and maybe gave some promises that I didn't keep or chose not to keep. You see, we're all humans and we make mistakes. It's just a part of life. What's something that you've lied about before? I remember this time I was in elementary school, the 3rd grade, and my teacher had given us a test. Now, I have to be honest, I did not study at all for that test. So I failed big time. I mean, I don't think I got anything right on that test. Now, my teacher had already called my mom and told her everything that had happened. So when I got in the car, my mom was asking me questions. She said, "Jordan, did you study for that test?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, I did. I studied really hard for it." She said, "Well, what did you make on your test?" And I said, "Oh, Mom, I think I made a 90, probably even 100. Well, she had already found the truth, and I had made a big mistake in lying. Things were much worse because I didn't tell the truth. It's not good to lie. In fact, one of the 10 commandments is about not lying. Jesus is the opposite of lying. In John 14:6, Jesus told his disciples, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one can come to the Father except through me." You see, Jesus is truth. Everything that he says and does is truth. In fact, our very first point today is this: God cannot lie. God is perfect. That means everything he says and does is perfect. So when God tells you something, you can always count on it because he will never lie to you. You see, from our story today, Abraham and Sarah were very doubtful because they were of old age. And God had told them that he was going to give them a son and he would be named Isaac. But they were very doubtful. They didn't believe what God said would become true. But just like we talked about, God never lies. So exactly 1 year later from when God gave them that promise, it came true. Isaac was born. And even though they were doubtful, God came through because God cannot lie. He is truth and he is perfect. You see, that's our first point today. God cannot lie. And our second point is this: whatever he promises, he will do. All throughout the Bible, we see God making promises to his people. God made a promise to Abraham and Sarah to give them a son, and he did. He gave them Isaac exactly 1 year later from when he said he would. He told Moses that he would deliver the Israelites from the Egyptians, and he did. He told Noah that if Noah would obey and build an ark, that he would be safe, and all of his family inside with all the animals would be safe. And they were safe. God kept his promise. And God told Mary that she would give birth to a baby and he would be named Jesus. And guess what? Mary had a baby and his name was Jesus. You see, all throughout the Bibles, many more stories, God made promises. And every single time when God gave them a promise, it came true. And the same is true for you and I. When God gives us a promise, from our first point, God cannot lie. So we can believe and know that when God promises us something, it will be true. So our first point was God cannot lie. Our second point was God makes promises and it will come true. And our third and final thing is this: I must trust God no matter what. Have you ever seen someone do a trust fall? Someone stands in front of the other person and falls back, and the person behind them is supposed to catch them. Now, you don't stand in front of somebody that you don't trust, but if you trust them, you'll fall back. Now, if it's on the ground, it's a little easier to do, but if the person steps up into the chair and falls back into the person's arms, it can get a little harder to trust that person because it's a little bit more of a fall and you could hurt yourself even more. The same is true for us. It's easy to trust God when life is going well. But what about in the tough times? When things aren't going as planned, will we still trust in God? The promise that He has given us is still true, and that's so comforting to know that God can't lie, and when He promises something, He will do it. So when He promises, we have to trust in Him and know that He's not lying to us. He's not trying to take advantage of us. He is promising to protect and be there for us no matter what. So when you're going through something difficult, know that God can't lie, and He is going to promise to protect and be there with you through all of life's tough times, no matter what. Maybe you're going through a situation right now that is super hard. You didn't plan for it and it came out of nowhere, and life is just not being fair right now. My prayer for you today is that you would be comforted to know that God cannot lie. His word is true, and when He promises us something, He will come through. So I'm going to pray for you today, and I'm asking that you would pray with me and believe for God's best in your life. God, today I'm praying for everyone who is watching that is going through a difficult time. I pray that you would reveal to them your promises, that you are true to your word. Your word remains true, that you are for us and not against us. You are with us in the good times and the hard times. God, I thank you that you are trustworthy and we can always count on you. I pray blessings over everyone today and pray that they would have an incredible week. It's in your mighty name, Jesus. Amen.
Rewind!